Well, next Tuesday, our voters will be going to the polls to vote on a $42.9 million bond issue. It's a no tax rate increase issue that we talked about earlier, to build an elementary school, additional classrooms at the high school, activity center at the high school, and then some office space to free up classroom space for kids in about 3 different buildings.
Why now? Why do we need this now?
A lot of people have asked that question, and the one primary factor is growth. Regardless of what's going on in the economy, and we realize that, and we understand times are difficult, and we're trying to be sensitive to that, but the kids just continue to come. You know, the last census numbers, 30.2% growth in the county. Christian County right next door, fastest growing county for the 2nd consecutive census, and the kids are coming to Branson, into this area. So we have to make room and make space, and we really debated a lot. Do we slow down? Do we stop? Because this has been a part of our master plan for several years, but in looking at it and the way we can fund it without an increase to the tax rate, we just felt like the prudent thing to provide the best education was to put it out there and ask our community, can you support us on this time? And you know, we're hopeful that that'll be the case. There's a term that's often used, a no tax increase. That's really somewhat of a misnomer. It's a no tax rate increase. We have a levy. It's been 70 cents since 1995-96. And that 70 cents goes for nothing but what we call the school our quote mortgage, principal and interest that we pay off on buildings, just like your home. The best example I've used is if you had a mortgage for 10 years at $1,000 a month, and you said we need more space. So you build on a couple of rooms, you refinance, your banker comes in and says, all right, we're going to extend your debt from 10 years to 15 years, but you can still make your $1,000 payment. So you are going to pay longer, but you're going to make the same payment. And we find that's probably the most palatable way to fund, especially when you're growing, because you have to have space for kids. And that's the best example I think that we can use. The other thing we haven't talked about, maybe we can get to that if you want to do that, but about how we're going to divide up the elementary students. Maybe a question we can do
let's
now
talk
or
about
a little bit later.
Go ahead.
Well, that's one of the big issues, because we're going to have 2 elementary campuses. The final objective is we're going to have a Cedar Ridge campus and what we're going to call a Buchanan campus out by the high school, where you can eventually take your child as a pre-kindergartner and they will stay on that campus through 6th grade. We've gotten a lot of comments about, you know, give me a campus, don't run me all over the district, and we've heard a lot about that, and so that's a part of this master plan. Right now we have a dividing line theoretically that would run around Bird Road and run east and west. If you're north of that line, you'd go to the Buchanan campus. If you're south, you'd go to Cedar Ridge. Then the next building phase, about 5 years from now, we'd add 1 more building out there and have identical pre-KK 1 through 3 and 4 through 6 buildings on both campuses. The other key to that is making sure that we divide the kids as evenly as possible. And we're talking about gender, free and reduced lunch, English as second language students, all the different demographic parts. And right now that Bird Road line is pretty close. It's pretty amazing. So that's going to be the other big issue that we'll deal with, but that seems to be going well. We've not gotten a lot of questions about that, and I think folks think that that's the best way to handle it. We talked about this when we started with some of our administrative team, our board, and our bond issue committee. I jokingly told them that 1 or 2 things are going to happen on Tuesday. Either the issue is going to pass or it's not going to pass. We're hopeful that it will, but either way, school will go on, life will go on. If it were not to pass, we'll regroup. We'll certainly go out immediately and survey, get input from our community and feedback, and ask them the question, what can we do to make this work the next time? And go from there. You know, I've had some recent health issues and different things. It kind of gives you a little different perspective on life. You know, there was a time when I might have got a little more shook about a potential negative outcome. I feel good that we can get it done. We'll see what our community thinks, but it kind of gives you a little different perspective. We're going to be okay either way, and we're going to do the best we can for kids either way.